Imagine finding a joy so deep, so profound, that nothing else could possibly top it. And then imagine discovering that this ultimate joy isn't about getting something new, but actually about letting something go. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating ancient text that offers, well, quite a surprising take on what ultimate happiness looks like. We're looking at 9 NAVANIPÆTO. That's a short collection, just 9 verses from the Theragāthā. These verses are linked to an elder monk named Bhūto. He's described in some pretty striking ways, the realized one, and even solitary, like a rhinoceros horn.
Yeah, those descriptions alone tell you we're dealing with some deep insights here.
Absolutely. And our mission today is to really unpack these verses. They're compact, but incredibly powerful. We want to understand what this supreme joy they talk about actually is, how you get there, and why it's seen as, well, unparalleled. It really challenges our modern ideas about happiness. So let's get straight into it. The text throws us a curveball right away, doesn't it? These first verses suggest something really counterintuitive, that understanding suffering, old age, and death, that's the starting point for profound joy.
Right.
Which is kind of the opposite of what most of us do. We tend to avoid thinking about those things. So what does it really mean here to understand suffering? It feels like that's the key.
That's a crucial point. It's not about wallowing in misery, obviously. It's about fully comprehending dukkha, suffering, unsatisfactoriness, stress, seeing its nature clearly. And what's really interesting is how the text directly links this understanding to abandoning craving, or to have
craving.
the desire for things to be different. Exactly. The text is explicit. Craving brings suffering, it gets us tangled up, it causes pain. So when someone meditates, having really grasped this nature of suffering, and crucially, having let go of that craving, then, the verse says, he finds no greater joy. No greater joy, that's a strong statement. It is, and notice the emphasis, the joy comes from liberation, from suffering and craving, not from chasing some external pleasure. It's a deeper, more stable kind of happiness.
That distinction feels really important. Liberation from versus seeking for. Makes you think, doesn't it? In our own lives, are we mostly trying to find happiness by adding more stuff, more experiences? Or could we find more by actively, releasing the things that bind us?
Okay, so building on that idea of liberation, the verses then seem to lay out a path. They mention seeing, with wisdom, a supreme path that purifies all defilements, and developing a state that's described as peaceful, sorrowless, stainless, unconditioned. Wow.
Yes, these are really transformative elements.
They sound like more than just ideas. What are these elements exactly? How do they work? Well, if we connect this to the broader tradition, that supreme path leading through 8 factors, the Vekaturagamina, that's a pretty clear reference, it points directly to the core Buddhist path, often understood as the Noble Eightfold Path. It's presented as a practical roadmap.
Okay, the Eightfold Path. So things like right understanding, right effort.
Precisely. And the text calls this path Sabbakulasasotana, the cleanser of all defilements. Think of defilements as those inner pollutants: greed, hatred, delusion, envy, all that stuff.
The things that cloud our minds.
Exactly. And cultivating this path, seeing with wisdom, leads to this state the verse is described. It's called asakata, unconditioned, meaning it's not dependent on external factors. It's stable beyond cause and effect in the usual sense. And it's sanyojana banhanishida. It cuts through the fetters, the mental chains that tie us to suffering.
So it's a deep internal cleanup job, essentially.
You could put it that way. It's about purification and liberation. And the verses emphasize that developing this path, actively meditating on it, that's what leads to this supreme joy.
It really highlights the active nature of it. It's not passive, which makes me wonder, how is this seeing with wisdom or developing this state different from just, say, intellectually agreeing with the ideas or just wishing for it?
That's a key distinction. It implies practice, cultivation, direct experience, not just thinking about it.
Right. It sounds like real work is involved.
Yeah.
Now, something else that really jumps out from these verses is where all this is happening. The imagery is so vivid. Monks meditating, yes, but amidst booming rain clouds or on beautiful flower-filled riverbanks.
Yes.
And even in a dark, deserted forest at night with wild animals roaring nearby. And often they're in a cave. What's the significance of these settings? They're so varied, and some sound quite challenging.
That's a fascinating aspect, isn't it? It strongly suggests that this profound joy, this deep meditative state, isn't dependent on having perfect, peaceful, controlled conditions.
So you don't need the ideal meditation cushion in a silent room.
Apparently not always. Even with the sky rumbling like cloud drums, megadundubi, or amidst the beauty of those river bikes, Kusumakulanatir, Or even, as you said, in the wildness of the night forest with predators, nadantidokino, the meditator, often in a cave, just continues. The practice goes on.
How? What allows that focus amidst potential danger or distraction?
The text gives clues. It mentions being vitadaro, free from fear, free from trembling, and vigattakalo, free from obstructions or inner hindrances. And there's a key phrase, vitaki uparundi, suppressing or maybe restraining distracting thoughts.
Ah, so it's an active mental discipline.
Exactly. It suggests the inner state of balance, of equanimity, can be maintained even when the outside world is chaotic or even threatening. The peace is internal, cultivated.
That's a really powerful idea. That your inner state isn't necessarily dictated by the outer environment. It challenges our modern tendency to constantly seek the right conditions, doesn't it? Does real inner peace require a specific setting? Or, as these verses suggest, can you genuinely cultivate it anywhere, no matter what's going on around you? Makes you think. Okay, so all this practice, this cultivation in varied settings, it leads somewhere. The final verse seems to bring it all together. It describes this ultimate state where the meditator is truly happy. They've destroyed impurities, hindrances, and sorrow. This sounds like the culmination.
It really does. It's the payoff, if you like.
So what does this final verse tell us about this ultimate no greater joy? What does that state actually feel like or consist of?
Well, this last stanza synthesizes the whole journey. The person is described simply as sukhi, happy, content, at ease. And why? Because they are malahila sukhanasano, they've utterly destroyed those inner impurities, mala, hindrances or obstructions, hufela, and sorrow.
Comment.
That's the implication. They are niragalo-free, literally without a bolt or barrier, unobstructed. They are nibbanato, without craving, without longing, and viso, without arrows, those piercing darts of grief, worry, desire. They're gone.
Wow, without arrows, that's a powerful image.
Isn't it? And ultimately, sabbasav bhayantakato, they've made an end to, extinguished all the deep-seated defilements or outflows. So it's this total internal purification, this complete liberation from all the things that usually cause us mental pain. That's what leads to this state where truly no greater joy can be found.
It sounds less like a fleeting emotion, like the happiness we usually talk about.
Exactly. Much more like a profound, stable, unshakable state of well-being. Something that underlies everything rather than a temporary high.
Okay, so when these verses talk about no greater joy, are they describing maybe a peak experience that comes and goes? Or is it something far more fundamental, a way of being that transcends ordinary ups and downs?
The implication seems strongly towards the latter, a fundamental transformation.
Right, so this deep dive into the Navāniپāto, it's really unveiled a very different perspective on joy. An ancient one, yes, but maybe quite relevant today. Joy not as something you get from the outside, but as the natural result of inner work. Purification, letting go of suffering and craving, and dedicated practice, no matter the circumstances.
A radical shift in focus, really.
It really is. It's a compelling invitation to look inward for the source of true contentment. So maybe a final thought for you to consider. Given that these verses point to supreme joy arising from releasing suffering and defilements rather than acquiring pleasure, what might it mean for you personally to redefine your own pursuit of happiness? To focus less on what you can graft and more on what you can, perhaps, let go of?